Well, kicking things off today, BronxWorks has been working in the Bronx for 40 years. From helping children find positive after-school activities to keeping whole families off of the street. They've even helped to renovate community spaces like 52 Park, which hosts a Latin jazz summer concert series in the summer. To speak more about BronxWorks and their work, we welcome now Ken Smalls, Director of Development, to the show. And welcome, Ken.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Talked about being around for about 40 years. I mean, I don't want to date ourselves, but we've been doing this for quite a long time, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
And
yes,
things just continue to get better year by year, huh?
Yeah.
Well, share with us a little bit about this here. So you got the 40th year celebration of BronxWorks.
Yeah, the idea of BronxWorks doing 40 years of celebration really goes back to the spring of this year. We went into our organization archives, we looked back, and we discovered that the first BronxWorks office actually opened December 10th, 1972. And we said, what could be a better way to celebrate what BronxWorks has done, what kind of impact we've had on the Bronx, other than by having a whole year of celebration. So we had, if you will, a pre-kickoff in terms of our agency-wide staff meeting, where we took a look at where the Bronx was in the early to mid-70s, how things have changed through the years, the role that BronxWorks has played in terms of making that happen. We had our big annual event in May, and Dr. Fernandez, who very much is affiliated with Lehman College, the president, he was one of the folks that we honored. And the idea came about of, let's do something that speaks to what BronxWorks has done through the years, and let's also take a look at things that we could do in terms of connecting with other community institutions. So we didn't just want it to be a BronxWorks thing, we wanted it to be something where we could demonstrate partnerships and relationships that we have with other institutions. And we're very fortunate to have on our board Bill Aguado, who, as you know, for many years headed the Bronx Council on the Arts.
And it makes all the difference having people such as Bill as a part of that. Give me a little bit about this, because you guys have been very consistent in terms of meeting residents' needs of the community, disadvantage, anywhere from, housing to, referral services. What has been the staple for you guys over these 40 years?
I would say the thing that probably most people associate BronxWorks with is work that we've done in the housing arena. And when I say the housing arena, things that we've done to keep people in permanent housing. When BronxWorks was first founded in 1972, one of the things we looked to do was to work with senior citizens who were vulnerable to losing their apartments. And through the years, we've broadened our focus not only to work with seniors at risk of losing their apartments, but families of working age adults as well. And oftentimes I'll be walking along the streets of the Bronx, and sometimes I'll be wearing my BronxWorks name tag, and a person will come up to me and say to me, I was at risk of losing my apartment, and someone at a BronxWorks office helped me to keep my apartment. So I think housing is probably something that a lot of folks associate with us.
Give us a little bit about Banned Books Week, because we talked about this in the teaser a little bit. What is Banned Books Week?
That we might be getting something a little mixed
up here. I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I slipped my note here. I mean, okay. 52 People for Progress.
52 People for Progress is a wonderful organization that has been in the Longwood and Woodstock area of the Bronx. This is something I didn't realize, but there's actually a Woodstock section of the Bronx, and it's in the southeast Bronx. And what 52 People for Progress has done is they took a park across the street from PS/IS 52, which coincidentally is the place where Colin Powell went to middle school. This was a park which, by the time the 70s had come around, was in a state of disrepair. So folks from the neighborhood came together to create an organization called 52 People for Progress, and they worked to renovate and restore the park. So you now have the park itself, you have a playground, you have an amphitheater, and you also have a very beautiful community garden. And it's really a testimony to the neighborhood folks coming together, folks who didn't want the Bronx to be, or their neighborhood in the Bronx to become another one of those statistics or another bad story. And over the course of the last 30 years, it's turned out to be a wonderful story.
One of the greatest stories that we have coming out of the Bronx is that of the New York Yankees, of course, and Bernie Williams, being a longtime New York Yankee.
Yes.
His now involvement with you guys. Share with us about this here.
Well, again, this really goes back to the folks at 52 People for Progress, and again, I really have to take my hat off to Bill Aguado, because it was Bill Aguado, Al Quinones, and Steve Mendez who really reached out to the folks who work with Bernie Williams to get him to come to 52 Park to do a concert that we had this past Saturday. And it's a wonderful feeling to have someone like Bernie Williams come back to the Bronx, since he had spent so many years here. And the concert was just, it was an awesome experience.
A little bit interesting to see his playing talents on a different level?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You're used to seeing Bernie Williams on the baseball field, but now I think he's had a very successful transition onto the music stage.
Yeah, and he's done this while he was playing baseball, actually. You know, to see him actually do it now,
yeah,
almost like full time, is like amazing. But you guys really had a great time out there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because one of the things that he joked about when he was performing on Saturday was when the Yankees used to have field trips and they'd be traveling, oftentimes on planes, he would play the guitar. And on occasion, Derek Jeter, who I think will be this year's MVP, used to sing along with him.
So they made a motley crew.
Kind of, sort of.
That's it. Well, give us now a little, so as we're talking about, you know, BronxWorks, obviously down through the years we've been together, and I said at the outset, we've seen the progression of your organization. Nobody's ever satisfied with where you are. You're always looking to go even further. 40 years later, what do you still have on the fire to say, listen, this is what we want to get accomplished in the near future?
Again, I have to go back to housing, because I see housing as being such a critical concern for Bronx residents, particularly at this time when rents seem to be going through the roof all throughout New York City. And for a lot of folks who live in the city, the Bronx is, if you will, kind of becoming the last place of affordable housing. So we're seeing a lot of things happening at the community level where, yes, neighborhoods are changing because the demographics are changing, but we're also seeing a lot of folks who are very concerned about how are they going to pay their rent, how are they going to sustain themselves. It's really interesting because there was a period in time when I think a lot of folks shied away from living in the Bronx, and the Bronx lost a lot of housing stock. But over the past 35 plus years, the Bronx has gained an incredible number of housing units. And I think the struggle now is, how do you manage to maintain affordable housing in Bronx neighborhoods?
As we bring things to a close, what do you want people to know about BronxWorks?
Go to our website, and there's a wonderful batch of information in terms of what we're doing with regards to the year of celebration. We've got something called 40 Stories. There's an event that we're going to be having for one of our programs coming up on October the 11th. So if you go to our website, www.bronxworks.org, there's a wealth of information there for you.
All right. Well, Ken Small, thank you for coming and sharing with us. It's always good to have you, and we'll see you back real soon.
I hope so. Thank you.
Ken Small from BronxWorks. Now, as we said, for more on BronxWorks, you can check out www.bronxworks.org, and you'll find out more information about the organization. And we'll be back now with Banned Books Week here on Open. We'll explain.